What is going on, people from the YouTube? Welcome back to another Pancho thing. Today I'm going to be doing something that I've never done, and I'm going to be reading as I'm doing it. I got the idea because I saw something at Home Depot and I was like, what about if I make it? So I knew I have first certain things at home, but other things I got. So I'm going to be kind of going through the process with you guys. I have no idea what I'm doing, so this quite cannot provide the results that I'm expecting to provide, or it's going to take some time for us to figure that out. But I'm going to show you what I'm doing. I'm doing a closed terrarium. So if you don't know what a closed terrarium is, it's a container that is going to have a lid. We're going to plant some of those little guys and close the lid, and every so often we open the lid and let it breathe and let us have an exchange of gases, and then you kind of like have your little terrarium made out of plants in there. So I found a couple of websites, couple of forums, couple of videos. I kind of have an idea of what it is, so we're about to figure it out. It would have been nice to have a yard that is completely clear and the house doesn't have any markings, but I only have this crazy mason yard. But I think it's gonna work. I think it's gonna do the trick. So one of the first and most important principles for what I have read and what I have seen is that the drainage of the water needs to be proper. It needs to have really well drainage. The soil needs to be porous and draining easily, and contain some of the water, contain humidity, but not like completely soaked, if that makes any sense. So the first part that we're going to do is the layer of the draining of the soils. So the first thing that I'm going to use is kind of volcanic rock. So what this rock is going to do for us is that it's going to provide some draining, so the soil is not saturated. So I'm going to place a layer of this in the container first, and then we'll move forward. All right, so here we go. I already watched all these rocks just to save us some time. Cool, that's gonna be my draining rock, so look at that. I'm gonna also put a little bit of pebbles. I'm not too big, it's just to cover a little bit of those holes, just so I don't have too much soil going down. So now I'm gonna go over what I have read about mixing soil and the components for the proper soil, what I had, what I didn't have, and what we're gonna do and expect to work. So I'm gonna move, for the meantime, I'm gonna move this guy out of the way. So as far as the soil, for everything that I've read, most people have the same consensus. Charcoal or activated charcoal or horticultural charcoal or wood derivated charcoal, which is what I use for grilling, 100% natural. So I have some of that. So I had to cut it into like fine powder in little small pieces. And then they talked about coconut bark. I do have some of those for the reptiles and the snakes and my geckos. So I have some of those, some of that. Then they all talked about orchid bark. Unfortunately, I couldn't find the orchid bark on its own. So I'm gonna try to, I found orchid potting mix. And I'm gonna grab the biggest chunks that I can find of the potting mix and a little bit of the actual mix, put it together. And I also have a sphagnum moss, but I do have red tea bark for the reptiles. So I'm gonna grab some of that red tea bark and I'm gonna mix it in there. But I'm gonna give you what the ratios are, or what they expect the ratios to be, and we're gonna roll with it. So here we go. All right, so we're gonna start with some of the percentages that I've seen. So we're gonna go with 1 part cocoa fiber. So in this case I'm using Eco Earth, which is what I had handy. I'm gonna use these as my parts. So 1 part of that. There. So there's 2 parts of a sphagnum mass. So I'm gonna do 2 of these, but I'm gonna cut it a little bit because this thing is really long. So it says now that we need a 1/4 part of charcoal. So quarter part, so that would be half. It's about there. So. But so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a little bit. Although it's not rectibark, it's actually bark blend, but pretty much same thing. And then I'm gonna open this guy. So I'm gonna select biggest pieces that I can find. So there we go, quarter part of that. There. He also says quarter part warm castings, and I don't have any warm castings, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna also add a quarter part of the full mix of this. There goes. Quarter part of that. Now we mix. I'm gonna start putting some water as well. I need some water in there. I'm gonna add a little bit of water. We're gonna so. Quite honestly, I'm gonna add a little bit more charcoal and a little bit more of the cocoa powder and a little bit more of the orchid mix. Just gonna add a little bit more of that just to have more of the soil consistency. So the idea is this drains faster, but it also retains some moisture. So that's the whole point. Other people does kind of this in layers, and I'm kind of gonna do that a little bit. I'm gonna put a layer of the sphagnum moss in the after the rocks, and then I'm gonna put a layer of charcoal on top of that, and then the soil, just in case. And then we'll load up this, and then we're gonna start separating these plants. I never done that before either, so we're gonna go through what I did. So the idea of this is the sphagnum moss retains water and humidity. The coconut fiber also retains a little bit of moisture. The charcoal is supposed to work as a filter to filter impurities and stuff like that. And then we call for warm castings. I don't have any warm castings, but the orchid potting mix does have a little bit. So we're gonna use that. We're gonna use whatever that had, and we're gonna pray for the best. So I'm gonna try to do a weekly update on how this is going, and so you guys can see what's happening. So here we go. All right, so we got some of the sphagnum moss there to do that layer. As I mentioned before, some people did it on layers, some people didn't mix like we just did. So we're gonna do a little bit of both. How about that? So we're gonna put the sphagnum moss there. We're gonna put a layer of charcoal. We're gonna do some of that as well. Charcoal, boom. There. We're gonna put the soil that we just mixed. I don't want to compact this too much, so I'm gonna leave a little air in there. There. Now we're gonna go over the plants. Wow, should have made less of that. But no, I guess that I can make a couple of these jars, I guess, if needed be. I'm gonna move this guy for a second so we can go over the plants and how I'm planning to do. So the first one that we have is this little guy. It's purple, it's pretty good looking actually. This one is called a snow white waffle plant, and it says that it's ideal for terrarium, and it adds a splash of color. So the way that I'm gonna work this is that I'm gonna get roots out of the ground and plant it in there directly. So we have this guy, which is called the Belgian waffle plant. We have a regular fern. I'm gonna put a little bit of fern in there. We got Pan Pilea. Probably I'm butchering the name of this, but I'm gonna put one of those. We're gonna put also a Golden Gate Peperomia, put a guy there, and Fittonia. We're gonna put a segment of these guys too. But I also have a little bit of Fittonia that is not looking so hot, but I have must. So we're gonna put some of the live must in there as well. So here we go. I'm gonna separate those plants first, and then we're gonna plant them. We got the fern here. We got this snow white waffle. Snow white waffle plant. And we're gonna get this Golden Gate pepper thingy. Right, so I got that one. This one is not really as easy to just get to. So what's in there? Oh, that's the Fittonia. Belgian waffle. There. And then I got my mustard. So here we go. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna open a little hole here. In that little corner we're gonna put the Belgian waffle. Okay. There. Then I'm gonna grab the Fittonia. Because it's the one with most color, I'm gonna put it on the other corner, the opposite corner of that. Oh. The little Panam, I'll put it on the opposite corner of this one. I'll put this Panam here. There. Then in the middle, I'm gonna put the golden pepperoni. The golden pepperoni. I'm gonna put it towards this end here. Scoop set some of the color. Boom. There. And I got the fern, and the fern I'm gonna put it on the opposite end. There. Where the fern is there. Right. Put the fern in there. Cool. This one in the middle. There. Now I need to see. Good. Right in the middle. There. Boom. And on this corner over here, right here in the middle here, I'm gonna put my must. I have a feeling that this might be too much plants. But we're gonna try it. See what happens. I'm gonna put some water and seal this bad boy. So, I'm gonna water so slightly. Turn it up. There. Alright. We'll wait for the best. I might make a couple of more and then I'll do a full close-up of this. put all those plants together, and now we wait. I'm gonna take one to work, and I'm gonna leave it there, and the other two is gonna stay here. And we're gonna see the difference in between the lighting that I have at work versus the lighting that I have here, and we'll check. I'm gonna give you guys an update weekly. Today's Friday, so I'll probably give you another update next Friday or Saturday, and see what happens. See if these plants take off and sustain. And if they do, what I'm thinking is trying to find a bigger jar that is clear and nice, and then transplant them until we can get them all together. So there we go. All right. So if you guys have any tips, any ideas, please hit me up on down in the comments, and we'll make something happen. So this is something that I just wanted to do, and it just so happened that I came across some stuff, and I was like, let's do it. Why not? So here we go. So thank you so very much for watching. Like, share, subscribe, click the notification bell so you can be notified every time that I upload on a video, and I will see you in the next one. Pancho out.